Hot stove season and the winter meeting starts tomorrow on Monday. And the Astros will be meeting with Wilson Contreras and Andrew Benintendi. Anybody? Anybody? Do we want that? So, what's going on with Justin Verlander? The fact that you have Jacob deGrom go and play with the Rangers. Does that mean that the Mets are the new favorites for Verlander? We'll talk about this and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
Hey, they can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. We got a big week coming up, don't we, Eric?
Yeah, winter meetings. It's always the exciting part of the offseason where anything can happen. You have the Rule 5 draft. You have agents meeting with GMs or owners or acting GMs or whatever that's going on with the Houston Astros. But yeah, this is going to be a big week. The Astros are sitting down with Wilson Contreras. Bob Nightingale confirms that the Astros are interested in Contreras, but they're also looking and talking to Andrew Benintendi. They've been searching for a left-handed outfielder, so that would be a good situation. What's going on? Michael Brantley, is Yuli going to be coming back? There's so much to kind of talk about, and I know Michael Conforto is somebody, and then Brian Reynolds of the Pirates. He asked the Pirates to trade him, so that could be a situation. So also, I went to the home run at home plate, whatever that was today. I got some great pictures, and I've got a World Series jersey. It's Jose Altuve. I'm super excited about it. I figured he's going to be here for a while, so that's pretty safe. And I guess you can figure there's a whole bunch of Trey Mancini jerseys there. So I was like, no, I don't think I want that. But Justin Verlander, there was a whole bunch of Justin Verlander jerseys there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pass this time.
Were they discounted extra?
No. Oh,
Really?
well, yeah, they're 50% off today. So
Well,
I don't know.
everything is 50% off, but they weren't like 65% off, giving you a hint that maybe he wasn't coming back.
The same price that you could have got Trey Mancini for. So yeah.
Okay. Well, because usually when a player leaves or when a player's about to leave, like when Carlos Correa becomes a free agent, boom, Correa jerseys go for 50 cents on the dollar kind of thing, or actually more like 25 cents on the dollar. The reason why I was asking, because as you and I were about to go on the air, Doug Rush, a friend of mine through Twitter, he is a journalist. He's a legit media guy. He's not like one of the fake blue checkers. This guy's basically saying that through multiple people and accounts that Carlos Baerga on his Instagram, Eric, is reporting that Justin Verlander is actually near a deal with the Mets. And they're saying that it's around what was it, $86.8 million for 2 years with a 30-year option. And if these,
you don't know this for sure, this is just what
this is right. No,
right.
Exactly. So former Major League Baseball player Carlos Baerga is reporting that Justin Verlander and the New York Mets are close to a 2-year, $86.8 million deal with a mutual option for a third year via Instagram. Again, the person that we're reporting this, and if you're listening on Monday and this deal has already gone down, this is just news that we literally kind of stumbled upon. And if it wasn't from a legitimate source, I wouldn't put it out there as a possibility. But like you mentioned in the intro, smartly, deGrom gone, I thought that ramped up Justin Verlander's chances to be a Met. And I think it meant more for him to be a Met than it meant for him to be a Dodger. I think he was leaning LA. Now that deGrom is gone, Steve Cohen is going for broke. And I was in the Met spaces last night, and I was talking to my friend Edge, and he said that he really believes that this is something that is going to basically cause Steve Cohen to go into emergency mode and actually go out and spend a ton of money.
All right. James says that the Astros are 100 million below the competitive tax threshold. That's not true. They are currently sitting at about 198 million, and then they are the luxury tax threshold for this year is 233 million. So they have, let's say, so they don't have that much of a luxury tax threshold availability, but let's say that I believe, if I remember correctly, in next year they're going to be going up to 255 million threshold. So if the Astros do go over this year, it's not going to be as bad as long as they don't go over the luxury tech threshold next year. So if the second year is typically when they get the harsh punishment. So that's why I think Crane made that comment the other day. We have the resources to go at or above the luxury tax threshold. So they don't have a lot of wiggle room. If you're going to go ahead and throw all that money at Justin Verlander, it's going to eat up a lot. It's going to probably put you over the luxury tax threshold. And I think the Astros smartly are like, okay, as much as we want Verlander back, we need more bats. We need at least one more bat. We probably need another starter. We maybe even need a backup catcher, depending on which one of the two guys that Bob Nightingale says the Astros are going after.
Yeah, exactly. And with this time, there are a lot of things to think through. Okay. Like you said, the money, what puts you over the threshold? And is it going to be like my friend Alex's coined term? Is Crane going to make it rain? Is Crane going to really go over the CBT? And my conversation with some friends earlier today was, until he does it, I don't believe he's going to do it. But I believe if there was a year that he's going to do it, it would be this year. Justin Verlander, though, is going to have to meet the Astros with where they're at. The Astros aren't going to go to him. The Astros are no way going to go to that much money, Eric. They paid him 2 years, $66 million before he was 2 or 3 years younger. They're not
Right.
going to offer him more for 2 years. Now, Crane, I think, is going to be aggressive. I think Crane wants to run it back, wants to win it now, wants to win another ring for Dusty, wants to win another ring for his club. And there are a lot, and he's going to have to give up the money. But
No, he wants to get the money.
but here's the thing: there are some other starters we could get out there, Eric. Chris Bassett, um, Taijuan Walker, Johnny Cueto, Jameson Taillon, Jose Quintana. Names that may not excite a lot of people, but if
Right.
you can bring in another quality starter, I know that not Jim Crane. I know that Lance McCullers has a lot of pride about being the starter, about being burying the H. But I think if they strategize the way they deploy Lance McCullers this year, if he is allowed to be in a 6-man rotation where he has extra rest and you can manage his innings, maybe he goes on a 2-week stint where he's got shoulder stiffness or shoulder soreness where you kind of rest him a little bit,
Right.
extend his durability. Because let's be honest, durability for Lance McCullers is in question. If you can keep him healthy through the year, you can bring on another guy if they're going to do that. If you're going to go more, I think Benintendi's still going to cost a lot. I still like Corey Dickerson. I still like Michael Conforto on a 1-year trial. I still like names like that. I don't necessarily know that we have to go Contreras and Benintendi and Brent Lee. And I just at some point it's going to stop. But if Crane has really been limited by the presence of Click, which I have a hard time believing, then Crane can do whatever he wants. And you know what, folks? It's not his money. So let's go spend it.
Yeah. So I think that the Astros would have done what Crane wanted to do. So I don't think that Click limited him. So I don't know. Maybe they just didn't agree on certain things. And yeah, I was going to do the math, and I don't know why I couldn't do it. But yeah, the Astros have about $35 million left before they go over the luxury tax threshold. And as long as they don't do it back to back years, it's gonna be fine. But I still don't see them going out and getting Verlander. I think Verlander is gonna get about what's being reported by Carlos Baerga or his niece or whoever it is. So.
Yeah. Now, this isn't a Carlos Beltran's niece tweet. Now, I mean, I'm just saying this is an actual decent sized lead when it comes to that. Okay.
Right.
But one of the things you have to realize is if you're betting on the Houston Astros being a part of the World Series next year, you're probably a smart guy or girl. And so this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the place where I go to get my betting fix. BetOnline is a place that has the latest props and odds anywhere. I mean, they've got really cool props. They've got all kinds of stuff. It doesn't matter whether it's professional, whether it's amateur, esports, boxing. The World Cup is going on, NHL. I mean, any sport, even if Houston doesn't have it, I'm sure you can bet on it. You need to go here because the folks at betonline.net are the number one source for sports betting info, stats, and more, even podcasts as well. To get your betting fix in the easiest way, go to betonline.net. Head to the website today or use your mobile device like I do, log in, and go to betonline.net. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Alrighty. I know a lot of people are still betting on the Astros to win the World Series, but I think Justin Verlander is going to tilt a lot of odds makers to go ahead and go towards that team because Justin Verlander, while he has struggled in the World Series, he did get a win last year and he is a bona fide ace. The Rangers did sign Jacob deGrom, and I know you and I have a difference of opinion. Just think about it. A regular Rangers pitcher, let's just say it's, you're going to hate me for this. Let's just say it's Brett Chancey pitching for the Rangers. And at most, he gets 8 wins for the Rangers. You're replacing Brett Chancey with Jacob deGrom, who could potentially win 18 to 20 games. So that's a big difference. So let's say, I don't know how many games they won last year, but that's a difference of like 15, like 10 wins or something. So that could be a difference. I know a lot of a lot of the projections kind of have them winning 84 games now. So it's a slight tick up. The offense is still good. Now they have Jake Odorizzi. That guy scares me. I hate to face that guy. I mean, I think he's going to be the ace of the whole rotation. Jacob deGrom.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was almost falling for your shtick. Okay. So look, here's the deal. The first thing Jacob deGrom's a competitor. Okay.
Right.
When I say this, I'm not taking away from Jacob deGrom, the pitcher, because he is hands down one of the most talented guys to touch a mound right now in Major League Baseball. Probably one of the best of this generation. Okay. But he has not pitched a full season in 3 years in a row. He has dealt with injuries.
Right.
What if he only gives them 14 or 15 starts and then goes out for 2 or 3 months? You know, I'm not buying this 20 wins with Jacob deGrom yet. Now, Jacob deGrom, honestly, I hope he proves me wrong because I don't ever want a player hurt. I don't ever want a player not doing well. Now, as long as he doesn't get those wins against the Astros, I don't care if he beats other teams. But I think that the Jacob deGrom thing was really smart for the Mets. The Mets were not going to pay him because they had 3 years in a row where he did not really deliver outside of when he was healthy. When you're not healthy, you're not on the field, you can't help your team, you know?
Right.
And we saw what happened with Lance McCullers. He almost didn't get to pitch this year. He almost wasn't going to pitch at all. And he did help at the end of the season. deGrom can help get them, I guess, maybe, I think 10, 15 wins max. I don't know that. I think 20 wins is asking a lot. But here's a question. I was looking at different pitchers and I was like, who's available or who's out there that we could get that would be a budget arm? You know how we're always looking for a left-handed reliever? Do you remember Hearn? No, Hearn for the Rangers?
Yeah.
That guy's a really good relief pitcher. He's not great in a starting role. It's guys like that I'm wondering if the Astros are looking at. Are there some under-the-radar signings for left-handed pitchers that they may be looking at, going out and getting 2 bats and then a pitcher? We don't know what is going on out there, but I can say this. If you're doubting Jim Crane, the Astros really have been the most active with Montero, with Abreu. there is a lot of criticism, and I've seen some analysis by Matt Collier, who does the Fabio stats. He doesn't really like the third year with Montero, and I didn't really see that until I started looking at the numbers and relief pitchers and how they regress. So let's hope that that doesn't bite the Astros in the tail end at the end of that contract. It is only 3 years, so it's not insurmountable. It's not totally detrimental. But the Astros are showing that they're being aggressive. And Abreu was a target of several other teams. So that's what I like about what the Astros are doing. They're doing things like other ball clubs, but they still have that core.
Yeah, I think that the Mets were trying to sign Jacob deGrom. I'll disagree with you there. And it was reported that the Mets didn't get to offer their final offer because the deGrom was too far into negotiations with the Rangers on a 5-year, $185 million contract. And there's a 6-year option that could take it up to $222 million. So yeah, the Mets maybe did not want to go that high. But I think if you factor in, even if the Mets paid more or paid about the same amount, there's no state sales tax in Texas. So he's making a lot more money by playing with the Rangers. But I think the Mets are closer to being a going back to the playoffs than the Rangers are. So I'm not saying this was all about money. Maybe the Rangers pitched that, you know what, Jacob, we're going to be good in a couple years. Once the Astros start sucking, we're going to be pretty good. But Justin Verlander is going to leave. Once Verlander leaves, Astros won't be good anymore. But I'm sorry to say, Jim Crane ain't done. And I think that we're going to see some moves at the winter meetings. Bob Nightingale did report that the Astros are still interested in Wilson Contreras. We knew this. He will be sitting down with them at the winter meetings. I could just imagine them taking sips of coffee and saying, okay, well, what does it take to get it done? But they're also looking at Andrew Benintendi. They've been looking for a left-handed outfield. This is something that the Astros have craved just to kind of get a extra lefty in the lineup, whether that's Michael Brantley or Michael Conforto. Or, I mean, I know Bellinger's name came across for a little bit, but I think his name's not in picture anymore. There's somebody else I can't think of at the moment, but that's definitely a big target for the Astros.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I keep talking about guys like Conforto, Dickerson, guys like that aren't like the big fancy names. Michael Brantley, they're still a wait and see. I still think that there is a high percentage chance that the Astros sign Brantley. I don't see any other club going after Brantley because he's not going to be ready till March. Now, since we're talking about kind of, surgeries and, coming back from that, Alex Bregman was actually cleared to start working out and practicing. Remember, he had the issue with the fractured finger.
Right.
He is a go. So that's a good thing for Astros fans. And, speaking of Justin Verlander and Alex Bregman, he did say today at a Mattress Max event where they were giving people their money back for their mattresses, Max making good on his deal. He said, hey, Justin Verlander, I believe he's one of the best to ever play the game. I feel like we have an opportunity to win here for a long time, and he wants to win. So I think it would be a good fit. And some people made a lot about that. I think that's just Alex Bregman being Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman will give you the Biggio Bagwell type clubhouse answers. And I think all the Astros would welcome him back. I think the Astros would welcome just about anybody in this clubhouse as long as it gets them back to the World Series. And they need to be greedy about it. I think this is the time that Jim Crane really puts a stamp. His legacy, I think, is improving. But I think his legacy is on the line. And if he can get another title or two, Eric, he's going to be one of the best owners, I think, in all of baseball because of the sustained run. And coming up, not this week, but the following week, we're going to talk to one of the key baseball development guys, the hitting coach for the Dominican Summer League, Elvis Rodriguez. He reached out to you, and we've been talking to him. And he's going to talk to us about some of these Dominican players, guys that you may not know about. And this Astros future, man, dude, we've got a run that is sustainable for a pretty long time.
Yeah, and I know that Astros we need a DH. You can't rely on Diaz or somebody like that right now. I don't think they're ready for everyday action. Maybe in spring training if they show that they could do it, but at this point you've got to go out there and do what you got to do. Whether that's Contreras, I think with Contreras, if you look at what he can offer with the bat, he's a guy that's going to have a lower batting average. He's going to have a higher slugging percentage, a higher OPS, a higher OPS plus than Andrew Benintendi. He can be a backup catcher. I don't know if Dusty Baker will want him to. He can play some left field. He can mostly DH, I think, with the Astros. So he's probably going to cost a little bit more. He may want, what is he? He's 30. He may want a, what, 3 to 5. I think he'll probably want a 4 to 5 year deal.
You talking about Wilson
Yeah,
Contreras?
yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't switched to
Okay.
Benintendi yet. So the market value for him is about 16.4 for about 4 years, like we talked about before. Now Benintendi on the other side is 28 years old. He's probably gonna want a 5 to 6 year deal, maybe just a 5 year deal. Um, I know MLB Trade Rumors says about 13.5. Then you have Spot Track that says he's worth about 17.5. So there's a little bit difference there. I think that he's a guy that offers better batting average. He has some speed with 8 stolen bases last year. He has a higher on base percentage, and he's not that far behind Wilson Contreras with a OPS plus of 120. He probably scores some more run. His WAR was a little bit lower, but or hold on.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Benintendi. While you're looking at that, I think too, like he doesn't have the pop, he doesn't have the power numbers
Right.
that maybe you would like. But if he gets on base at a high clip and he gets on base at a high percentage and doesn't strike out a lot, we know he can play left field really well. We've seen him play well against us. And so it's just one of those things. But no matter who the Astros go with, I feel like that it is safe to say that we have a great team. And if you're worried about safety, let me talk to everyone here at Locked On Astros. We believe that your home should be where you and your family feel the safest, especially over the holidays. This season, give yourself and your family the gift of peace and protection with the #1 rated home security system, Simply Safe. Simply Safe is offering Locked On Astros listeners 40% off a new security system. And you've got to go get it now, because let me tell you, my experience with Simply Safe is this. It's easy to install. They monitor it 24/7. I don't have to doubt or wonder whether or not they're going to pick up the phone. And I know if I'm not home, I've got peace of mind because they'll contact the authorities. If I have a friend that has to come over and go inside and get something out of my garage, I can let them in the door. I've got high definition cameras, and they are rated as the best home security system of 2022 by US and World News Report for 3 years in a row. So check it out. It is less than $1 a day and less than half the price of traditional security systems. Top rated Simply Safe app helps you stay in complete control. So don't miss this chance on my favorite security system. Get 40% off on all Simply Safe systems. SimplySafe.com/LockedOnMLB today. That's SimplySafe.com/LockedOnMLB. There's no safe like Simply Safe. So, Eric, here's a question I want to ask you, because we are talking about Benintendi. We are talking about all these different pieces coming in. Do you think that the Astros would go with a Contreras and a Benintendi? But what if you are really counting on Michael Brantley? If you're really counting on Michael Brantley and you're talking to him, and because you're talking to him through this rehab process and whatever, don't you think that lowers the chances of them getting a Benintendi, a Conforto, another outfielder? I mean, yeah, you get Contreras because he plays 2 positions plus like DH, left field, and catcher, right? Don't you think that with Brantley that takes him out of a Benintendi type of conversation?
I disagree. I don't think that Brantley at this point in his career is going to be an outfielder. I think if you get Brantley, he's going to be mostly a DH.
Okay.
And so I think that if the Astros do sign a Wilson Contreras, I think the odds of signing Brantley are kind of taken aback unless he's healthy enough to play the outfield. I don't know how his knees are. I'm not saying he can't play the outfield, but they sure like to keep him out of the outfield last year when he played. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I just don't. If you Contreras, it's knowing Dusty Baker, knowing that he didn't play Christian Vasquez a lot, even though he's just as good a catcher as Martin Maldonado. He loves Martin Maldonado. As long as he's healthy, he's going to play. And I was reading an article from Bleacher Report, and they were saying that, well, we think that the Astros should go ahead and sign Contreras, and he could be the backup catcher, part-time DH this year, and then he can be the everyday catcher in 2024. And I'm thinking, do you know Dusty Baker? If he's going to be back, he's not going to be an everyday catcher. He likes a defensive
Well,
guy.
here's one of the things I think they can do in selling Contreras. Okay. As you get older as a catcher, we all know, unless you're a Yadier Molina, and I mean, we even see it with Martin Maldonado. I mean, catchers age a little bit more more intensely than regular position players because the squatting down, that's just tough on the knees, just
Getting up
what you
and
take
throwing.
on. Yeah, all that stuff, right? So maybe they sell Contreras and say, look, we know you love catching, but we feel like you have versatility. And if you can give us that versatility in the outfield at DH and catch some, we've got Martin Maldonado and they're bringing up these guys. And here's the thing, I'm hearing, Eric, that the Astros are actually valuing now Yadier Diaz a little bit higher than Corey Lee, that he's starting to jump Corey Lee in the depth chart within the Astros organization. And I'm wondering how that's going to play out because up until this point, we've heard Corey Lee is pretty much the heir apparent, the backup who Martin Maldonado is grandfathering. So I think as a selling point to this Contreras signing is we offer you versatility, we offer you multiple positions, and we can maximize how you get in the game.
Right.
And you can help this team win in more than one way. And I think Contreras would be like, sure. And if they can get a deal done, I would love to see it happen.
All right. This was Eric Rodriguez. I met him at Minute Maid Park today. Make sure you send that picture, Eric, so I can go and put it on Twitter. But I met a couple people that are like, "Are you Eric from Locked On Astros?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
Well, that's cool, Eric, because you did that this weekend.
Uh-huh.
I was actually at the Brazos Mall in Lake Jackson. I was down visiting my daughter and my grandson, and my daughter was sharing with her friend, "Oh, hey, you need to check out the podcast," and said sometimes my dad will go to Astros games and people will recognize him and Eric. We went into Lids after that, and this guy walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, what's your name?" And I just go, "Brett." And he was like, motors were turning. He goes, oh, never mind. I was like, "Do you think I was somebody?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Do you watch podcasts?" And he goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're in my store. H-Town Wheelhouse. You at H-Town Wheelhouse and Eric the Man." He literally said Eric the Man. I was like, yes. So this guy watches our show. He goes by Big Tuna on Twitter. I gave him a follow. So, that's cool. Thank y'all. When we see y'all in public, when you see us, please come up to us. Please let us know because it helps us know that you guys and girls, y'all enjoy the show. So I just had to take a break to mention that. We appreciate stuff like that.
All right. Before we go and talk about the big news of the weekend about Brian Reynolds, I do want to go ahead and welcome Fred McGriff to the Hall of Fame. He was a unanimous selection by the committee. He got 16 votes. Don Mattingly got 8 votes. Kurt Schilling got 7. Dale Murphy got 6. The following people got less than 4. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Rafael Palmeiro, and Albert Bell. So
Okay.
Roger Clemens this guy's never going to get in the Hall of Fame.
No. Okay, kids, let me talk to you about Barry Bonds and why it matters how you treat people. Barry Bonds treated the media like crap. Barry Bonds had a horrible reputation with the media. There's no amount of good things that Barry Bonds could do to ever get in these people's good graces. Literally, probably one of the top 3 hitters, Eric, of all time. One of
Right.
the top 5 players all around of all time. And he won MVPs before he even touched steroids. He got on them because the competition was all using them, pitchers and hitters. Barry Bonds absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. But I think because he was a heel and that kind of personality, that's what kept him out of the Hall. And it does matter how you treat people. And Roger Clemens kind of went like a bull in a china shop when it came to that stuff. You know who you don't hear about talk about, steroids anymore? Andy Pettitte. Why? Because he said, you know what? I took it. I did it for recovery. He admitted to it. When these players show grace and remorse and actually show that they did something wrong, then you know what? I think people are forgiving. But
Right.
this can't go unsaid with this, Eric. These players were taking a substance and taking things that was not banned by baseball until after the fact. And baseball turned a blind eye, and they created this, and they should be ashamed of themselves because they didn't care as their pocketbooks got fat and baseball came back because of that home run chase in 98. So I think it's criminal that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are not in the Hall of Fame. That's my personal opinion.
All right. Yeah. So to kind of close out the show, I do want to kind of touch on the Brian Reynolds talk. I know this weekend he did demand a trade. He said, I want to get out of Pittsburgh. Basically, the Pirates aren't going to be good anytime soon. And he has 3 years left of team control. I think he has $6.5 million salary this year. And he's a good player. He had batted .262 last year with 27 home runs, 62 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, OPS plus of 126. So a lot of Astros fans are like, why go sign Nimmo? Why go sign Benintendi when you can go trade for Reynolds? Because the industry believes that the Pirates are wanting top dollar in terms of prospects for him. And I know if you're looking back at the trade for Contreras, a lot of people are like, well, the Astros didn't trade for Contreras because they're worried about how he would be in clubhouse and all that. That wasn't the case. They were worried about him not getting the playing time he would have wanted for the contract year. But in this situation, the Pirates, they're not going to be a contending team anytime soon. So even if you're going to throw in a Luis Garcia instead of a Hunter Brown, Luis Garcia is, if you're a contender like the Yankees or somebody who's going to be in playoffs, Garcia would be great. But in 3 years, are the Pirates really going to be that good a team? Yes, Garcia has 3 years of control. But I just don't see that you can do that without giving up Corey Lee, without giving up maybe Hunter Brown or Pedro Leon, some of the Astros' top prospects. And if the Astros can do it without doing that, great. But I just think that it's a little bit of a pipe dream. And I think that a team like the Dodgers is probably going to do whatever it takes to get Brian Reynolds.
I think there are 2 reasons why the Astros don't trade for Brian Reynolds. And I'll tell you 2 reasons why I don't think anybody else is going to get Brian Reynolds. Number one, the Astros have rooked the Pirates in all their trades.
Careful.
They have really taken them for a ride on these things. We've gotten the better end of the deal. Those guys end up being Yankees too. That's kind of weird. Number 2, executives have said that the Pirates have no intention of moving Brian Reynolds. He's kind of like the Barry Sanders of Pittsburgh. Barry Sanders requested a trade for years. And the reason why Barry Sanders retired from the Lions, he got sick of losing. And I think it's wrong if the Pirates are going to hold a player hostage because they don't believe in what they're doing. You should absolutely trade. But I don't think that any other club is going to have, number one, the Dodgers don't have the capital, though. They don't have the players. They've given away a lot of their top prospects. They're going to want major league ready, and they're going to want prospects. The Astros would have to give a Christian Javier, a Hunter Brown, and more. And that is too expensive for a guy that, look at his numbers in the last 2 years, negative DRS, negative outs above average. Okay? That's terrible.
Big
Those
talk
are
there, man.
metrics. Hey,
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
talking metrics because
I know.
apparently I don't talk metrics. So, but look, Brian Reynolds price is way too high, and the Pirates have no interest in moving him. I don't think the Astros want to give up that much. Okay.
No, Arlie, I do not agree. Pedro Leon and Forrest Whitley would not get you Brian
No,
Reynolds.
you would have to give him Christian Javier on top of that.
I
And
think that
let me
Christian
tell y'all,
Javier
Christian
is
Javier is going to
untouchable.
be he's going to be a Cy Young candidate
He's
next
untouchable.
year. He is. Yes, he is. He is one of the untouchables. So, hey, Jim Crane, make it rain, baby. Let's make it rain this week. Go get Contreras. Just go for broke. Let's go win the next 3 World Series. How's that?
And something I want y'all to ponder before the next podcast is if you have to sign Andrew Benintendi to, like, say, a 5-year deal, maybe it's a Josh Reddick type deal where he's really good for the first 4 years, and then a 5th year is like really terrible. Is that still worth the deal? I mean, he's a great hitter. He's a great fielder. He can bring a lot to the Houston Astros. So was Josh Reddick. And then it all bit the dust. So we'll talk about this and more on the next edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. So thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And go ahead and give us a big like and follow, subscribe to us on YouTube. And go Astros.
Yeah, dude.